Is this thing on?
If everybody, I truly believe that if everybody could just get more in touch with who they are, I
Yeah.
think we'd see a huge shift in the way that people do what we talked about with just following. I think people would be able to think more critically because they would know themselves better and they'd have a better sort of alarm system that goes off when things feel wrong.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Because I think that's sort of blurred. But as far going back to what you asked about abortion, so the soul thing, for me, I think every soul has a plan. And so I think that there might have been babies that chose to just come in for a short period of time and get that few moments or months or whatever of human experience, physical experience, because that's all that their soul needed. And also because the lesson that was going to provide the mother, that's something we don't talk about. I think something that's really irritating to me is the idea that women somehow want to get abortions. The women are just excited to go get abortions. No woman. I have many women in my life who have had to go through that.
Mhm.
One of them being someone who's incredibly close to me. And it is an insanely painful experience, both physically and emotionally. And it sticks with you. It's not, oh, I did it. And next Friday, I'm going to go do this thing and totally forget that this giant thing happened to me. It leaves a mark. But I think ultimately what we're not thinking about is that if women don't have sovereignty over their own bodies, their souls don't get to play out the consequence of that. And they don't get to learn that. And I think that's all really important. And it does sort of go back to religion in some ways, but it's just the nuances of the trust you put in each soul's like knowledge of their own path. And I put
Right.
that into everybody. If I see, for instance, a homeless person, and that's a topic that's really dear to me is homelessness. And it's something that I will always work to try and improve. But I know that's part of their soul's journey. Their soul needs to learn something from this experience. And who knows where they'll be in the future. This might have been the thing that they needed to propel them to the next thing. Who am I to say?
And to clarify for some folks who might not totally understand what you're talking about, it's believing that you are a spirit first and foremost, and that you are in this body having a human experience, right? And that the soul part of that, which a lot of people don't identify with, because one, they don't know what it is. They've been messaged to believe one thing or another, and they just miss out on the opportunity to really get connected with that truer part of themselves.
Or they have so far.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And there's, if you take that perspective where we're all of a soul, we divinely know what we're doing in this existence, and we all have lessons to learn because there's karma, there's lessons you have to learn to eventually get to unification with the source, which is, some people might call heaven, some people might call nirvana, some people might call moksha. There's a lot of things you can call it, but
Yeah.
the point being is that you're a soul first, you and you're in this existence to learn something so that you can eventually be free from the confines of the cycle of birth and death. I'm not sure, you know what I mean? So like, so there's
No,
a,
yeah. That's definitely one theory about it.
that's
For
right. And
sure.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so when you mentioned babies as souls being conceived and then possibly not coming to full term, or many of the other things that happen in the life cycle of a human being at that early of a stage, there's points to that. There's lessons for other people that we might not see. And if we have a system that doesn't allow for the diversity of manifestations of the soul to play out the way they should within the country that they're born in, or the religion that they're born in, or the communities that they're born in, then we're limiting that manifestation the degree that it might not should be. There's a lot to unpack though.
There's so much there.
That's
Oh
out
my
there.
gosh. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unfair.
But all the theories are interesting. I just think the healthiest vantage point, in my opinion, is just, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for opening that door for us though. That's a great door to be opened. So the next question I have for you, Karcy, is what do you believe about the people who voted opposite of you?
I mean, I believe they're just doing the best they can. I think a lot of people just wanted something different, not necessarily that Trump is different, but like different than what we have right now. I think a lot of people are worried about the economy. And I think him being a quote unquote businessman appealed to a lot of people. I think everyone just is living in their own perspective. I don't fault the people that voted for Trump. I feel sad that they aren't as affected by the humanity aspect of what he wants to do. I
Right.
think that makes me sad for them.
Mhm.
Ideally, I think any injustice to humans should be a red flag to us. Ideally.
And I like that you said that. Any injustice to humans should be a red flag for us. And it's interesting because when you talk about humans, you talk about spirits and stuff, there's so much understanding and so much information and all sorts of stuff about that. But it's compatible with society and how laws work and how they're not the same thing. If anything, they're interrelated. But my question is always,
Yeah.
are the laws, is the government, is the norms of society perpetuating humanity or stifling it? And it's like,
Yeah.
being in a country, one of the strongest countries in the world, wealthiest countries in the world, we thrive on our innovation and our excellence and our betterment in some people's perspective.
Capitalism. Yeah.
The question is, are we, as a society in our country and all these things, are we going in a direction that proliferates human ingenuity, or are we going in a direction that stifles it? And I think the verdict is still yet to be out.
Yeah. And I think it's both.
Totally. Excellent.
Yeah.
Look at you with your middle way self. You so that's right. That's absolutely right. And
I think it's both. I think we're certainly advancing in a lot of ways. I think there's more people that are awake, but
yeah,
there's more people that are asleep and maybe should be.
yeah. Oh man, there's a lot to talk about. And eventually, and we can't get to all of it right now. So the next thing I have is, what is the worst thing about society what is the worst thing about society to you?
Yeah. The worst thing about society to me is how disconnected we are from our soul and our higher selves.
That's great. I'm curious because some people in religions, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, Catholic, Hindu, Buddha, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
A lot of those people believe that they are in connection with their soul. Like, how do we
Yeah.
know if they are or not?
I think it certainly isn't for us to judge, for one,
Excellent. Excellent.
but if I had to give a litmus test, does human suffering affect you? And if it doesn't, then there might be more work.
That's it. That's it. You did it. You did it, Karcy. You did
I
it.
mean, that's what I see. That's what I believe.
Because if we're organisms in a system and we believe in our perpetuation, our species continuing, then we have to be affected by the unfair treatment, the suffering of other humans, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you did that. That's good. That was great. That's going to be a whole podcast in the future. So thank you for
Yeah. I'm
planting
here
that
for
seed.
it. I'm here
That's
for it.
so excellent. So the next question I have is, what do you believe is one of the reasons that Trump and the largely Republican Congress was elected?
Like I said, I think there's just enough people that are worried about the economy and immigration and safety. And I think there's enough people that, I don't know, I don't totally want to get into this, but that just think the world should look a little different than it looks. There is vast homelessness and we can't afford basic needs, and our healthcare system is crap and our education system is crap. And there's just so much wrong that I think sometimes people will go to the extreme to try to correct that, thinking there's one answer and they'll try that one answer. That's what I choose to believe about those people, that they just think that's the best answer.
And you also believe that it might be the best answer for them now, right? And so you believe in like
Yeah.
people changing and like learning new
Yeah.
things and evolving. Yeah, that's very
And I
balanced.
think as Democrats, I just want to point out, I think as Democrats or even just people that like want to convince someone else of the way you see things, because ultimately that's all we want. We want people to understand where we're coming from and we want to feel understood and like we belong.
Sure.
And so I think ultimately, if that's your goal, meeting someone who thinks differently with you with a soft landing giving them a place to feel valid. And I know that's us being, I say us, I don't really identify with any party, frankly, like, and again, in the middle, but like being receptive of other people's experiences and letting them feel validated.
Yeah.
That's the way that you're going to convince people to see things from another point of view. And if someone who is, let's just say, deeply red goes and talks to someone who's deeply blue, it's all going to blow up. So
Mm.
you have to put your, I think you have to put your ego to the side a bit and just say, I hear you. Like what you're saying and your experience makes perfect sense to me. If I were you and your soul and your path, like I might feel the same way. So
Right.
just the judgment needs to go. I think that's really where it gets toxic, is when we just start fully judging people because they don't think the way that we think.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's something that society perpetuates, like non-judgment?
No, because we're so encouraged to identify as something. We're so encouraged to identify as Republican or a Democrat or this race or this gender or this football team. Like we're raised to identify on some deep level. We want to. We want to feel like we're surrounding ourselves with people that reflect how we see the world. And that's not a bad thing. That is biological, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to the end, since we started, I'm pretty sure we've wanted to find the right tribe.
Yeah.
So I get it. But I think very much that's shrouded in ego, and very much that shrouded is identifying as I am a Seahawks fan.
Right.
And I'm just using that as an example because I'm from Seattle. Ultimately, it's all football.
Right.
I heard this thing and I thought it was so great. If we were two people on the moon, right, and there was a bunch of aliens and other species around us, and we were two humans that liked football, that'd be amazing. Oh, how incredible that would be that we had those two things in common. And so
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is it just seems like we're so encouraged to judge each other.
Yeah. I want to give people some substance around the concept of ego that you keep alluding to,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I don't know if everybody understands. I don't know anything anymore. Let's be honest.
That is oh my God. That is the healthiest thing anyone can say is I just don't know enough about that.
That's right. But ego is, in my understanding, ego is it's a manifestation of our being that prescribes the world to be a certain way and prescribes myself as an individual as separate from everything else in the world, right?
How
Where
you identify yourself. Yeah.
and is there to protect us, it's there for
Mhm.
to help us navigate some things or whatever, but identifying as the ego is what gets you tripped up and creates the justification of, oh, I'm going to judge you because you're different, and I'm going to treat you a certain way because you're different. When what you should be doing is saying, I see your difference and I accept you as also a being living here, existent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You got it. You got it. The ego has so many great purposes. It
Sure.
does, like you said, it keeps us safe. It keeps us protected. It helps us know where we belong,
Yeah.
which essentially keeps us safe. But the ego shouldn't be driving the car. The ego should be in the passenger seat. Our higher self should be driving the car.
That's right.
And so that's a hard thing to learn. I
It
will
is.
forever be acknowledging my ego. I love her. I'm so glad she's around, but sometimes she needs to shut up. And I'm fully like, and she knows that. So it's great. It's a great relationship to have with your ego when you don't identify.
Right. And it for the people who don't understand this, because these are difficult concepts if you're not introduced to them in the appropriate
Yeah.
way, right? Like
It takes time. Yeah.
it does, and it takes learning, because a lot of people will talk about, or at least there's things in society that say this doesn't exist or that's not real. And we're finding out like every day that there are finer, more subtle mechanisms of this world that we didn't know yesterday. You know what I mean? And so like,
We don't know anything. It's so funny how arrogant humans are. Like
yeah,
we don't know anything.
I know. And I look at the James Webb Space Telescope, right?
Oh my God.
And
Yes.
the depths that we're able to see the universe and the diversity of stars and galaxies and all the Christianity doesn't necessarily exist on any of those places. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
religion as we know it doesn't exist on some of those places. And some of those places
Mhm.
don't have football. You know what I mean? And it's for us to
Exactly.
believe. And so it's for us to believe
Yeah.
or to stifle our ability to believe or to learn. That's where I get concerned about society. Because if we say, oh, we shouldn't be listening to science or we shouldn't be curious and investigating things
Mhm.
that are happening, that's when we get into trouble, I believe, as a species, because we stifle our ability to continue and to grow.
Well, and it goes against our nature.
Yeah.
I really
Right.
think human nature is to want to learn and to explore and to play and to be in awe. And how can we do that if we
That's right.
stop looking around?
That's great. That's great. Okay. So the next question is, do you feel like you did enough to affect the election in the way you wanted to see it go?
Oh, I have to like consult with myself on that. I think, did I go knock on doors and preach the Democratic agenda to everyone I met? No, I didn't do any of it. Not that I would. That's not my path. Did I, if I think about, I don't know. I don't think there's a great answer to that one because I think you can always say you've done more. And I know this is something that you think about a lot and
Hmm.
that you struggle with this feeling like, did you do enough?
That's right. Yeah.
And not that you've asked me, but I would say yes. I think being yourself and living, I'm not even kidding, living
Right.
in the light that you're living and spreading the love that you're spreading and doing it in a way that, like, as we've talked about the gray area, that's not pushy and not judgy and comes from a place of love and compassion. I think that's all, I really think that's all we can do. I believe that. And I don't think regretting your actions are helpful. So,
That's right.
yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you see that because it's difficult for me. I'll just give folks a little context about me. The last 10 years, I've been in social justice, specifically fighting for equality, diversity, and inclusion to be things that we care about in this world. And we all know how that unfolded, right? It happened. The marches happened. Institutions started to change. Money was flowing in equitable directions and stuff. But it also hit a wall, right? Where like it's now starting to get eroded and undone. And my belief is that some of the people in the DEI movement were almost taking advantage of that movement. And I'm going to be critical here because I've seen them. I've worked with
I
these
love
people.
that.
If the message is we need to respect each other and love each other and value each other and include each other, and when you have individuals who are leading this movement say, you're bad, you're hateful, you shouldn't be, like it goes and it's the antithesis and it almost pushes back against those values that we're trying to that movement was trying to purport and to create as things that we should all strive for, right? And so, and the fact that those things happened in a relatively short amount of time, it's difficult to change people and how they think and to do it
Yeah.
in such an abrupt way and so fast and without the proper guidance, right? There was no unified council of how we should approach diversity, equity, and inclusion. That council did not exist, right? And
Yeah.
so some people who were giving DEI trainings, they were projecting the same harm that they were trying to fight against to people who they want to change. And it's like almost, I don't want to say slapping the hand that feeds you, but it's just it's shutting down people and it's causing the same trauma that we're trying to heal from. And it's
Yeah.
no, that's not going to keep going because people are going to be like, nah, F you. That's
Yeah.
harmful to me. Why would I listen to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons I shifted gears and I left some of that work. I still believe in it and still push it, but I also know how to do that in a way that is responsible to the audience, right? And to the
Yeah.
people who are receiving that information.
But the reason you know how to do that, I think, is because you're so in touch with yourself.
That's
You
right.
have such a you have such a tether to your higher self and to your feelings and to knowing your true north. And you're not afraid to speak out about that. And that's all really important.
Yeah. Thank you. And I do feel, and I want to take this opportunity to apologize to the people. And I want to say, and I'm just going to say to white people who may have heard some of these messages and didn't get the support that they needed, right? Because we don't universally take care of each other then
Yeah.
we're just going to perpetuate the same harms we're trying to heal from. And it's
Yeah.
like, so no, you're not bad. Yes, history sucked. Yes, we can make a better future for everyone, right? That's the point. Yeah. So the last question I have for you is, what do you want to say to the version of you 4 years in the future?
What do I want to say to the version of me 4 years in the future? Just, I don't know, just keep listening to yourself. And I'm hoping I can say I'm proud of you for listening to yourself. And I'm proud of you for taking big steps to doing things that make you comfortable. Going on this podcast. Like, yeah, I told you, I was like, I don't know about that. But I'm a big believer in following your passion. I'm a really big believer in if something lights you up, that's a really good indication that's a direction you need to go in. Because that's what you're going to be good at. And that's what you're going to enjoy. And if you can pair those things, that's awesome. So that's what I've started. I don't want to say started, but I've kept doing. There's a lot of momentum behind that now. And that feels really good. And it feels really authentic. Yeah, I just hope 4 years from now, I guess I'd be 41. Man, I'm hoping it'll be awesome. I think millennials are so interesting. Every generation has its cool things and its downfalls. Dude, I just feel like we're so resilient. We've been through so much. We haven't been in wars the way that I can only come from my perspective as a millennial, right? I'm really grateful to be a millennial. I'm really grateful to have gone through the stuff we've gone through. And I think a lot of us are I think we're pretty grounded for the most part. With a lot of my friends and people around my age, like we just seem pretty grounded for the most part. And there's something in that it feels really good. Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard. I think 4 years from now, we will have gone through some stuff. We will have seen some stuff. We just have to keep doing this. We just have to keep connecting. We have to keep growing. We can't let this stifle us, and we can't let this make us lose hope, because I think that's how the dark wins, when people snuff out their own light. So let's not do that. Let's light each other up. I know that sounds very like unicorns and rainbows, but it's cool though. Like I fully believe, and you've talked about this a little bit, and I know we agree on this. Like,
Absolutely.
belief and words, like that's energy. The way that you think is energy, and it becomes real, and thoughts are real. And so I think keeping our spirits high and being there to support the people that we can, including people that think differently than you, I think that's really important. I think that's the way we're going to find a middle ground, is just by being compassionate.
That's right.
Even when that's hard.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Thank you, Karcy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, those are all the questions I had.
Cool.
And so I'm going to sign off like we always do. We are all different, but we are all also the same. What matters is we recognize that and move forward to make a better world for all of us. So thank you so much for joining me, Karcy, and for your insights. Just wishing you and your family the best. Yeah, hold down the fort over there in Colorado.
You too, man. When you get over here, let me know. We're going to go.
I will. I got to tell you, I don't know if you've heard of the Marcus King band, but it's a cool band. If you like, it's like I don't want to say bluegrass. I don't know. My partner introduced me to them. We were going to go to a concert, and they were playing in Boulder, Colorado. And I was like, oh, maybe we can fly over there. It was expensive to go to Colorado. So y'all are expensive like we're expensive here in Washington.
Well, it's so funny too. I thought flights would go down so much after the pandemic. I'm like, surely they have to make up money.
Yeah. Yeah. I started a new job, and so I'm saving to quickly go and travel more, because I do want to get out before I die. So
yeah. Oh my God, man. Seriously. How's the new job going?
It's good. It's good. I'm still in the learning phase, because I have to learn about the federal funding of a program and how we're going to apply it here in Washington. But I'm stoked, because it's the green space. We're trying to help people make their homes more efficient, and so through federal funding. And so lots to learn, but I'm energized because I know that it will help people. And so, you know.
And you have this going on the side, and I know what that's like. I know it's like to have a passion project going, right? Like we're getting our podcast up and going, and I have to say, you were so helpful in just being like, just do it. I love that you said that. That's totally what I needed to hear.
Yeah. Well, and just do it. One of the mantras of this podcast is we don't aim for perfection. We just aim for progress, right? So just do it.
But
Do you guys have a name for the podcast? Yeah.
we do. Yeah. It's called I think it's called Unpacking Homelessness.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, me and my best friend and my sister, we're just three very normal people that have this fire to help homeless community, but aren't really sure where to start. So we're interviewing trauma therapists and mental health specialists and addiction counselors and low income social workers. We're getting a lot of breadth of insights from different people and homeless people themselves to figure out what are the nuances of this problem. And for an everyday person that is like us and doesn't know where to help, but really does care, it's going to be a good podcast for them to listen to.
That's great. For the future, just my suggestion. One of the things I'd
Yeah.
love to hear here in liberal Washington, we took a stance by and large of compassion for homeless. And that stance allowed for us to, one, not criminalize homeless for where they sleep or what they do, but on the other side, it created kind of a proliferation of homelessness. And we as a state here in Washington didn't do enough to create the institutions and really the housing to be able to home these people. And we don't have the drug treatment resources that are needed, or even the mental health resources that are needed totally to address the myriad of issues of why people are homeless and remain homeless. So if you need people from Washington to be able to
You're
speak,
coming. No, you're coming. Yeah.
well, I do. I'm always happy to help you in your endeavors, Karcy. But if you need people, I know people who work in those spaces. So when you're ready to get
Great.
some Washington perspective in there,
Yeah.
because I like to think of Washington as a little bit of a test case for some of these liberal policy
Yes.
stuff. And we've seen what works and what doesn't work. And so I just want to make sure that you get that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the support, first of all, and the resources. But yeah, I definitely want your perspective. I know that it's such a nuanced problem. And I think that's part of what intrigues me and the people that I'm working with about it is as normal, everyday people, you want to help, but you don't always know how. And you don't want to be undoing what other organizations are working towards. And it's a complicated problem.
And I'm glad you're willing to take it up. So however I can help, please let me know.
Thank you.
Best in those endeavors. And
Yeah, and
obviously,
you as well.
happy holiday season. Because
Happy holidays. Have a good Thanksgiving. Oh, can I say one more quick thing?
Of course, absolutely.
I think that as Thanksgiving is coming right up, it's around the corner, we're going to be surrounded by a lot of family members that maybe don't think the way that we think. I know that I have family members that for Trump. And I just, like I said before, not to be preachy about it, but I really think coming at that with love and understanding, and if it gets too heated, just back off because you're family first. And I think don't let the politics ruin your Thanksgiving.
That's right. Let love be the where you stand. That I think that's so excellent.
Sure.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay. I'll see you later. You take care.
Bye. Talk soon. Okay.